Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, and Neil, Click OK, Sense Your Goat, Adam, Refracted Curvature, and welcome to the show, one and all.
How are you?
Good. Starting the show with a bang. Got Jardo gifting out 10 memberships before we've even got going. Thank you very much for the super chat, or gifting memberships as the case may be, Jardo. Really appreciate it. Whoever's got their mic wide open in G+, please can you close your mic? This is a live show. Have some respect. So yeah, good to be back. Nice weekend. Very hot here in the UK at the moment. Like extremely swelteringly hot. So how long I can bear the heat with all these monitors and amplifiers and computers going, we will find out, I guess. So let's see if I can bring up Jardo's super chat so you can see him on screen. There we go. Thank you very much indeed, Jardo, for the super chats. You hear me?
Well, housekeeping will increase ventilation.
I don't think it will. Let's just check if we can hear. Also, another sent 10. What's that? Sent 10. What does that mean? Sent 10 gifted memberships, I assume. That's the same thing, right? Thank you, Moop. Got 20 gifted memberships going out to people in the live stream chat. So thank you very much, both of you. I like people gifting memberships. I think that's an excellent way of sharing the love and getting people involved in what we do here. So thank you, both of you. Really appreciate the support. Everyone had a good weekend?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's nice when you get the 2 or 3 days here in the UK where things are lovely and sunny. You can actually enjoy the sun, or get burned, depending on what we're doing. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, Jardo.
Jardo, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Yeah, that would be 1 AU.
AU is a derivative from flat plane measurements that extrapolate out into orbital motion, and a Keplerian, if I could say the word, description that's then mathematicized into having a distance that's calculable with radar bounce off a black body, or the transition of Venus, a light in the sky, isn't going to cut it as an actual distance. You're talking about scales that we've invented the distances for by making assumptions about the size of things like Venus. And the size of Venus is assumed to be the same size as the radial value of an extrapolation of an Earth-based radial value that's derived from a flat plane elevation angle measurement. So it's utterly absurd to say that 1 AU is a distance to the sun. It's not.
Well, I want him to go over how the globers are going to attack flat Earth measurements, because I understand what he was saying. Can you go over it real quick, Jardo, or are you busy?
I could go over it a little bit, I guess. Let's go back to 1 AU. 1 AU is an arbitrary distance that can be ascribed as any distance from 1 centimetre to 1 light year. That's the reason why they gave it an arbitrary distance. So they couldn't prescribe any particular measurement to it, I guess. But sorry, what was your question, Neil?
What you were talking about in the pre-show, how globers are going to come at celestial navigation.
You said So
So
they position it as a false dichotomy, from what I heard.
the arguments I've heard just recently in the chat forums is they are using our use of celestial navigation in relation to the sun's GP if people accept the fact that there was a 24-hour sun in one particular point in the south, that is Union Glacier at 82 degrees longitude, 79 degrees latitude. If you were looking south and you at midnight and you had a elevation angle to the sun, where would that sun's GP be?
On a flat Earth with a triangle? I don't really understand your question. Was that what you were asking? Was that the right answer? Did it get a prize?
Yeah, sort of. BB prize.
Boobies? Hooray!
Well, I was
No,
saying
it's-
once they say longitude, it's over.
It's a conundrum. So if you're at Union Glacier at 79 degrees south and you are looking south and the sun has an elevation angle south towards you at midnight, then that sun has got to have a geographical position. So where is that geographical position? That's the argument they're using.
Sorry, how is that an argument? Asking where a GP is isn't an argument. Where's the GP? I don't know. I gave an answer. On a flat Earth. That's the only position you can ever have, a ground position, because it's a measured triangle along a flat baseline where the star, in this case sun, is above when you measure an angle to it. So you've given the exact details of what an angle is. And on screen for my audience now, the live audience, you've got an elevation angle for Polaris. Substitute where it says polar axis for sun. So let's say we're measuring the sun above the horizon in a northward direction. Now, I know that's opposite to what you've said, but it doesn't matter, just for the sake of this diagram. Okay, so what are we doing? We're drawing a position below the sun along a flat baseline with the angle being part of the triangle. So what we're measuring is a flat Earth. So you're saying that by asking where the sun is above, we somehow, invalidate that we're making a flat Earth measurement? I don't really understand how that puts it into a dichotomy.
I told you the logic behind it. Oh my God, I can't believe I got to say it again. If we observe the elevation angle of the sun to be above the horizontal plane of reference for 24 hours, then there is no horizontal plane of reference.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's obviously not what we're pointing out. We're pointing out that when they measure the horizontal plane of reference to describe the angle with respect to the horizontal plane of reference, you need a horizontal plane of reference to measure that. And in this case, if you're describing what as Jardin is the GP, that's ground position or geographic position of the sun, that's the sun's position on the ground with respect to a straight line between you and it. That's a flat Earth prerequisite. And you're saying that by asking where the sun is, or where its GP specifically is, that somehow undermines or puts the flat Earth prerequisite measurement of angle with respect to a flat baseline into a dichotomy. And I still don't understand. I know you didn't answer, Jardo. John did. But maybe you can fill me in like I can comprehend how that puts it into a dichotomy, or, as you suggested, is a question at all. It isn't a question. Asking where the GP is in regards to what we do here. That's not a question of how Earth is situated as a plane or as a shape sphere. That's an unrelated question. Okay, it is a question, but it's an unrelated question.
I hope
no,
they do come with
what it
that.
does is-
It's Jardo. Listen. Bloody hell.
No, it places us it places the person asking the question into a circular reference and the person trying to answer it into a circular reference. There's no argument against the fact that when you take an elevation angle, it's from a horizontal plane. The problem is we have already used celestial navigation as a proof of flat Earth. That is, all the celestial bodies have a particular GP, which we derive to make calculations on where we are at any particular time on the Earth. If you are at 79 degrees south, 89 degrees longitude, so 79 degrees latitude, 89 degrees longitude, and you're looking south at midnight, you're looking over the top, supposedly, of a south pole, and you have an elevation angle to the sun, which has a GP, we all already have outlined in almanacs where that GP of that sun's going to be. So we place ourselves into a circular reference.
How? Are you saying that the almanac's wrong in terms of where it suggests the sun should be at that given time? Because if that's the case,
No,
well, what are you saying?
the almanac's right.
Okay.
The almanac's right. The problem is you're looking in the mirror to the sun. That's what I'm saying. You're looking. So let's place ourselves 79 degrees south, 89 degrees longitude. We are looking south at midnight, and we have the sun. And in the almanac, the sun has a particular GP, which shouldn't be where it is, either on a globe or in the almanac itself.
Okay, I can accept that. So you're saying the sun isn't accurately described either on a globe or in the almanac? Okay, and?
No, not me. No, not me. The next wave of people coming to argue against you. That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand how this is an argument against me. I'm really struggling. I'm sorry. I know it's not your fault, Jardo. I get it. But how is this an argument against me? If they say, you must accept that the sun isn't in the right position, I hadn't suggested where it should be. Well, the almanac says, okay, so the almanac's wrong. No worries. If you say so, the almanac's wrong. The globe's wrong. The globe came from flat Earth measurements and it's just a system of mathematising elevation angles into sphericity. Who cares if it's wrong? The origin of that model, as you call it, is flat Earth measurements. If the almanac's wrong, I'll accept that the almanac's wrong. But it doesn't alter the way we utilise the ground to measure this system to describe it as being wrong in terms of its GP. Okay. I didn't make it. How does that affect me? How is that an argument against me? I don't understand. Jardo's gone quiet. Can someone fill me in?
No, it's an argument that's going to be placed at your feet, not exactly an argument against you or anyone else. But you were presented in the last couple of weeks from a couple of newbies, and they stumbled across here completely undermined by the presentation of the arguments here. But I knew where they were coming from, and what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of confused people coming in to Flat Earth, and that's one of the questions they're going to be presented with, because that's what's been floating around the backstreet alley of Flat Earth chat at the moment.
If you say so. I don't fully understand.
Only
And
a
maybe
problem
this
for
will be more
people
clear when
who
someone comes in
reify
and
the
starts.
AE map.
Say again, Endless. Sorry.
Sorry. It's only a problem for people who reify the AE map.
Okay.
These newbie flat earthers, if they're reifying the flat earth map, then yeah, that'll confuse them. That's their problem.
No, it's not an AE map issue.
What's the problem?
What people are forgetting, what people aren't focusing on is what I'm saying. So you're at 79 degrees latitude, 82 degrees longitude. You're looking south at midnight. You have an angle measurement, elevation angle measurement to the sun. That sun has already been registered in an almanac as having a GP. Think about that for 5 minutes before you go off.
Okay, so the sun's got a
I've
GP
thought
in the
about this one
almanac.
a lot.
I measure an elevation angle south at midnight. Okay, I've thought about it, but what's the difference if 5 minutes elapses? I still don't get how this is a problem for me in any way, shape, or form.
No, it's not a problem for you. It's a problem for people coming to Flat Earth asking you or me or anyone else a question. You can't just dismiss it with, well, it's a Flat Earth angle measurement, therefore it's a Flat Earth.
Yeah,
But it is.
I can do exactly that. If you then go on to say the maps are wrong, okay? No worries. Maps are wrong. Yeah, that's not surprising given that they want us to believe we're on a bleeding sphere. We've got thousands of them. It's the first thing I did, looked at all the maps. Thousands of them with Brian Leakey. Martin Leakey, not Brian Leakey. And you're like, okay, so why are there so many maps? Or so that we don't cotton on that there's a distortion in one form or another on all of them. But you're saying, I can't just respond, well, we're measuring Earth flat for you to suggest that this flat Earth measurement doesn't match a globe, or doesn't match a flat map, or doesn't match an almanac. I can just say, but we're measuring Earth flat. Who cares? Yeah, there's a massive deception afoot. You thought you were on a ball. What, that does it now fall at my feet to map the terror? No, it doesn't fall at my feet. Yes, there's lots of distortions and they're messing around with the maps. Of course. They've gerrymandered the maps for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Yeah. I agree. That's not my problem. It's still measured flat. And that is a response to that, Jardo.
Yeah, absolutely. The only problem it presents is if we were to use, like we have, celestial navigation and the almanac as support for the flat plane, this is just one issue that will be presented to question an almanac.
What's going on?
Oh, crap. I was on mute. My bad.
Figures.
Sorry. Yeah, I said the exact same thing again. I mean, you're suggesting that this is a problem to newbies who've come in, and Endless is suggesting that you've taken it as read that because newbies will reify the azimuthal equidistant projection, that this is a problem for us in terms of the sun's positioning on that map.
Yeah, like if you go to the most, like as far south as you can, and you look south, and you still see the sun, if you have preconceptions about the layout of reality, then maybe that'll be a problem for you.
No, it isn't.
It is for Jaron.
I don't care. Jaron's here to take a flock of people he's rounded up back onto the ball. That's his purpose here. Now, it wasn't glaringly obvious to me the first couple of times he ended up being in a position to, affirm the ball. How interesting, he said. But he went back to the people and tried to sue them after signing his rights away, which he'd been acutely aware of. That contradiction is not lost on me now, although I excused it back then. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he's true to his colours and they haven't changed. All he's ever done is try and lead people back onto the ball. So did Bob Nodell. These are ether punting scammers who've rounded up sheep, told them Earth's flat temporarily, and then disavowed the flatness for a ball based on a 24-hour observation of a flat Earth measured sun. It's utterly absurd, but that's Jaron's purpose. That's why he has the most subscribers.
Hey, Nathan.
Everything in that question that Jardo asked required a plane of reference. Everything without exception. How is that in any way fallen to us to answer anything about that?
We shouldn't have
That's
to.
correct. Just saying as well, Nathan, I mean, anything to celestial navigation requires a tool that measures elevation angles. That tool is not measuring curvature. It's measuring elevation angles. That's what it's designed to do, and that's what it's used for. Nothing to do with measuring curvature.
Right.
Not Jado, it's what he's hearing on the circuit.
Yeah, and I'm not holding it to Jardo to answer. I'm saying the question in of itself repeatedly uses a flat plane of reference to then circle back around and attempt to deny the plane of reference. That's what my initial point was with how you try to formulate it into any kind of logic. Yeah, there's nothing. It's a big nothing burger.
Yeah, to me, once you...
Sorry, Neil. Go on, mate. You're all right.
I was going to say, once you hold to that elevation angle, if you're using an elevation angle, the game's over right there.
I was going to say, if newbies are obviously going to have some issues, they're not going to be up to speed with these things. So when they do get here with these questions, they'll be put right.
I want it to be presented to me by somebody who's in the position that Jardo's speculating would be a problem for them, so I can sort of comprehend how they've taken their steps through their logic. Now, I'm not suggesting Jardo hasn't done a good job of passing this information on, but he's doing it third hand, and for me to comprehend the logic of why this should seem like a problem to Next Man, I need it to be presented to me as a problem by Next Man for me to wrap my head around it, because I just can't. I can't fathom why this is a problem.
Because the globe has it positioned in a certain part of the Earth.
Not the globe. It's never on the globe. That's never happening.
Well, that's the problem right there.
When you're doing celestial navigation, you take an elevation angle to a particular solar object, celestial object. What's the next thing that you do on your map?
Give it a linear distance to the ground position, right? Flat plane distance to the, like, you know what I mean? What are we doing now?
So you do a circle of equal altitude, yeah?
A straight line, a linear distance. What are we doing?
So at the position that I designated the sun at, and you do a circle of equal elevation to that particular solar object. What I'm saying is that where we have, that is FED, have the last 3 years gone through a whole process of celestial navigation, working out elevation angles, circles of equal elevation to pinpoint a particular area. What we've done is we've effectively given a whole lot of newbies an AK-47 with a magazine of bullets and let them loose, and now they're stuck in a conundrum.
I still don't see how.
Yeah, how? Why?
Go on, John. I just got the exasperation and no content afterwards.
How is using a planar measurement to get a planar distance to assert a point on a plane? I don't understand what the problem is at all.
Me neither.
I mean, I'm
Like I
just
say,
guessing
once-
what Jardo's trying to say is the problem comes afterwards in the when they jig about and calculate a distance on a presupposed globe after taking the flat Earth elevation angle measurement off a flat plane in the first place. Then they might do some mathematics to say, well, if it was a globe of 3959, then we can bend it a little bit and we'll put the position there. We'll just, that's what they do. But that's not how it's being measured in the first instance. That's the only thing I can think that Jardo might be saying.
Yeah, but to deny the reference was my point in the beginning. That, that's the attempt at logic you have to do to get for this to be a problem. Fine, deny the reference. Don't use the measurements, though, because you're denying your reference.
It sounds like a recycled version of McToon's challenge.
What, use the elevation angle measurements, whistle past the plane of reference that you've just measured as Earth, and then ask how it works on a flat plane?
Exactly that.
Oh, you got to stop him right in your tracks like Brian did.
Yeah, we don't understand the heavens. That's the best you're going to get. We do not. They're amazing. And how they render to some people, and it's not the same to me, and they don't seem to obey perspective. Can't tell you. Sorry.
John, if I was a newbie and I was to ask you, how do we use the heavens to prove a flat Earth? What would you say?
We don't.
We just measure the surface. I mean, we are occasionally utilising the stars in terms of the measurement, but the measurement that's proving the surface is flat is with regards to the surface. So you're measuring an angle along the ground for a GP position, or ground position. That's a bit redundant. Let's just try that again. You're measuring along the ground for a ground position. There we go. So once you've got all of that data, which is where I started out going, I kind of object to what you're suggesting, because what a newbie finds objectionable in terms of how we'll utilise a flat Earth measurement is irrelevant to us. I'm just going to keep saying it.
Yeah, no, you're mistaking me for articulating a certain issue. The only thing I can suggest is to clarify my position is, do you remember not long after the footage of the TFE exclamation marks came out, and one of our very intelligent and amazing panel members made a video about how the sun shouldn't be rotating a certain direction, but had to retract that video.
Who did?
Do you remember that?
No, who did?
Just talking about Brian.
Is it Brian?
It is Brian. And what I'm saying is, if someone like Brian can get caught up in it, then an absolute newbie can. That's my point.
Is there a context outside of reifying the AE map where this is a problem for people, like psychologically at some level? Like, is there some other headspace people could be in where this is a problem?
Well, obviously, because I've come across some people that have struggled with it. Yeah.
Right, but are they at some level reifying the AE map?
No, it has nothing to do with the AEMAP. We're completely excluding the AEMAP. That's the reason why I gave Brian as an example.
Okay, well, at least I know to ask how this is going to be a problem. I can ask Brian.
It's not a problem to us.
It's not what no, I'm saying if you can get caught up and tangled up in it, then it is a problem. It's not like overall Earth will be less flat because of it. I get what you're saying, Neil. But by the same token, Jardo's suggesting that if Brian can get caught up in this, and I don't fully understand what's to get caught up in, but maybe Brian will explain that if he toddles along at some point today. We'll find out.
Well, I just sent him a message to get in here, number one. Number two, Brian got caught up in the whole video thing. All right?
The whole video thing, I mean, be a bit less specific, I would suggest, Neil.
He got caught up in the video where the sun was supposedly going the opposite way.
Opposite relative to you turning around, it was.
Do.
I mean,
No, what Brian failed to accept was that if he was to put himself in a position of it actually being a globe and he was looking south at midnight, then the sun would be going that direction. That's what Brian couldn't get his head around, in the end accepted, and then retracted his video.
oh, you're saying there's going to be people out there that utilise how it shouldn't work on a globe like this, and they'll be wrong when they say how it shouldn't work on a globe?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, then I'm still just as
Not
confused.
at all. You know what we're going to do is just leave this, and then when you've got some spare time, go back and listen to what I'm saying, and then you'll understand a little bit more clarity what I'm asking.
Yeah, you just don't understand, Nathan.
Right. So when we look south with respect to the horizontal plane of reference, this will prove that there is no horizontal plane of reference.
Why have you brought this to us anyway? What sprung this concern?
Oh, blame Neil. He asked me to bring it up.
Blame Neil. Go ahead. Nathan always blames me. Somebody could be coming off from mute from another server. He'll blame me.
I just want to know why it's in
And rightly
discussion.
so. Sorry.
Tell us, Neil. Oh my God.
Thanks, Neil. You got me in trouble.
That wasn't me. Somebody else opened their mic.
I'm
John Doe
asking you a
presented
question.
that to us. I didn't hear the question. If you're talking about why it was brought to you today, it was brought in the pre-show as it's going to be a problem because they're going to use celestial navigation against us when the book comes out. That's why I asked them for some more clarity on it. If you don't want to talk about it, ask another freaking housekeeping question.
Like I said earlier, though, celestial navigation, you're using a elevation, tool that measures elevation angles, which has nothing to do with measuring curvature. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
No, the elevation angle tool is only one part of celestial navigation. That's the whole point I was trying to make. But anyway, let's leave it.
Yeah, but the process of deceiving us after the fact with the maps doesn't alter how Earth gets measured. You're saying, oh no, it's only part of celestial navigation. Well, we're not using the rest of the process necessarily beyond the measurement.
Then why bring up the tool in the first place?
Because we're measuring Earth with it.
It's designed to measure elevation angles, which is not measuring curvature.
It can't be used on a globe.
You're measuring an elevation angle to what?
Well, you're measuring an elevation angle. You're not measuring curvature.
Hold on, you're measuring an elevation angle. The bottom baseline is your plane of reference. and an imaginary line from that baseline at your feet to the stars, what you're measuring. 2 is a calculation done afterwards, which cannot invalidate the measurement.
Okay. I was hoping Brian would join, actually, and that obviously isn't going to be the case. We've got stuff that we wanted to cover. I'm sure there was a video that we didn't end up covering last week. Sensual Ghost, I'm talking to you. Did you pass us on something that we didn't cover last week?
There's one in Master B. I posted this morning.
Fill me in.
A well-known YouTuber is talking to some. I don't even know how to describe him, to be honest. I think he's just describing the piece of nonsense, effectively.
This is on Lex Clips, right?
Correct.
Do you think you will be a mathematician that develops a theory of everything? What a
Wow, immediate category error. Maths is maths and is abstract. Theory of everything would be a description of the physical and natural world, which the closest comparative description would be a natural law to describe that which occurs always. Theory, however, as I've described accurately, him utilising a question with a category error in it, is the end result of scientific method. That would be to say that you examine the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena, and upon elucidation of said cause of effect, you then form theory.
What often happens is that when the physicists need
But notice how he's immediately rephrased the question in the answer by talking about what a physicist will do. The question was about mathematics, though, wasn't it? So you got a numpty dipshit for a interviewer who's asking a category error question about maths, and the seemingly at this stage, after only a few words, more intellectually superior respondent with a big massive frown on his head is having to juggle the question that's malformed into an appropriate response that immediately utilises physics and physicists as they're dealing with a question that's framed around the physical and natural world, not maths.
something of mathematics. There's often some precursor that the mathematicians worked out earlier. So when Einstein started realizing that space was curved,
But he realised that, did he? No, he just plucked it out of thin air. He invented that crap. That garbage was made up by Einstein. He didn't realise anything. Did he have the realisation of seeing it in physical reality, his bent pseudo-Riemannian geometry that he created off the top of his head? No, he invented it. He didn't realise jack. So why are you bullshitting and apologising for Einstein? No, he didn't realise this. He invented it.
he went to some mathematician and asked, is there...
Good.
He just said length, width, and height are curved. No, they're not. That's stupid.
Very. You'd need a Cartesian system to describe that curve within. So it's utterly absurd.
Is there some theory of curved space that the mathematicians...
Not a theory. Again, as I correctly elucidated, theory comes after scientific experimentation. Scientific experimentation comes after observing natural phenomena and assuming you know the cause of it and varying that cause to validate it as the cause of the effect you study in nature. That's where theory comes from. This is two bullshitters, isn't it?
already came up with that could be useful. And he said, oh yeah, there's I think Riemann came up with something. And so yeah, Riemann had developed Riemannian geometry, which is precisely,
What, pseudo? Why didn't you utilise its full title? The pseudo-Riemannian geometry? Yes, a geometry. There's nothing physical in physical nature of a fourth dimensional geometry invented by Einstein. You missed off the word pseudo.
and a theory of spaces that are curved in various...
Sorry, this pseudo-geometry is not a theory. Bullshitter, charlatan, conman, grifter. Who the hell is this? Terence Teo? You're a liar, sir. How dare you bullshit about this being anything to do with physical and natural physics? It isn't.
General ways, which turned out to be almost exactly what was needed for Einstein's theory. This is
Not a theory. There's no science behind this.
going back to Wittgenstein's unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. I think the theories that work well to explain the universe tend to also involve the same mathematical objects that work well to solve mathematical problems.
It's a contradiction in terms. The thing about maths is it's not science.
Ultimately, they're just sort of both ways of organizing data in useful.
The organising data, that would be maths. Theory deals with the physical and natural world after experimentation based on hypothesis. That's where you get theory.
Ways.
It just feels like you might need to go some weird land that's very hard to intuit. Like, you have like string theory.
Yeah, that.
Sorry, this guy with his hand on his head doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why he's taking this pose. Yeah? You jabbering, gibbering, nonsense, spewing garbage waffler. You haven't got a clue. This string theory, not a theory. You haven't got a clue.
That was a leading candidate for many decades. I think it's.
Go ahead.
It's not even math what they're doing. They're denying base concepts of mathematics and calling it physical theory. Like, it's neither. You're doing neither. You're just an absurdity.
Okay, let's pass on the love with this videographer who has 1.5 million subscribers so he can bullshit the world about convolutions of maths and physics. Well, bleeding outrage. Please let this videographer know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic censor bots. Let's just stick it up on screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So I have stuck the link to, what's this called? Lex Clips in my YouTube's chat. So if you are watching this live, I'm not saying for my health, do actually toddle along to Lex Clips and let them know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed either by the videographer themselves or the YouTube algorithmic bots that definitely don't want you telling them that we have critiqued this garbage nonsense waffle that convolutes science and maths. But do, as I say, if you are watching live, toddle along to Lex Clips, let them know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The idea being that if Lex Clips was to respond to my harsh critique of these two bullshitters, they'd put a link to my video to overcome the algorithmic censorship that I have to endure as a flat earther telling people Earth's measured flat. Like in the Cartesian systems that were prior to the Einsteinian bent pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional space-time geometry that this man missed off the word pseudo when describing. So please let Lex Clips know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully they'd do the same for me.
It's slowly falling out of fashion because it's not matching experiment.
So one of the big...
Right, not matching fading facts. That's what you would describe that by if you were the behavioural panel, as he faded into describing the non-matching of experiments. Which experiments isn't it matching? Do you want to list two? If it's plural. Which two experiments did it not match? There aren't any experiments to match pseudo-geometry 2. That's utter garbage. That's why he looked down and faded out as he described that. I won't fade out or look down when I look down the barrel of my camera and call you a bullshitter. Maths isn't science, bullshitters.
The challenge is, of course, like you said, is experiment is very tough.
Yes.
I'm willing to bet a $5 that this man doesn't know what an experiment is, given that he's asked a question within a category error. Shout out to Jardo's gifted another 10 memberships. Thank you very much indeed. Man, half the people watching have got to be members now, thanks to Jardo. Who was the other one? I've forgotten to credit him. Someone else gifted 10 memberships. 30 people have become members of this show. Who? Moop.
Moop.
Thank you very much, both of you. You're awesome. Really appreciate it. This man doesn't know what the scientific method is. If push came to shove, if I was to ask this man to define what an experiment was, he would not be able to do so.
Because of how effective both theories are.
Right. Experiments are hard because of how effective both theories are. You're a charlatan. You're a bullshitter. You're a liar. Give him 1.5 million subs. You're just making it up. Because of how complicated both theories are, doing experiments is hard. What a nonsense waffling, garbage spewing shyster this man is.
He owes you £5 as well.
Yeah. That was a general bet to the audience, but yes, I know what your sentiment means. Yes, indeed. He doesn't know what he's babbling about.
But the other is like, just, you're talking about.
So that was a sentence fragment, you bullshitter. Why do these people get 1.5 million subscribers and I am in the doldrums of having to flog fucking microphones to keep afloat? It's an outrage. The world's not fair. Please share the show. Excuse my language. It is an outrage, though.
You're not just deviating from space-time. You're going...
Right, deviating from pseudo-Riemannian bent space geometry invented by a man named Einstein about 105 years ago.
Going into like some crazy number of dimensions. You're doing all kinds of weird stuff that to us, we've gone so far from this flat Earth that we started at, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now we're just...
Have you? You've gone so far from flat earthers. I'm a flat earther. I'm the one embarrassing you by pointing out your bullshitting nature while pretending that maths is science. Science elucidates the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. That is to say, in nature, you observe something happening and say, I wonder what caused that. Then you formulate a predictive suppositional statement, otherwise known as a hypothesis. It's an if and then statement. If my suppositional causal influencer, then the phenomena I am studying. That's if this, then that. If A, then B. That's a hypothesis. Alongside it comes a zero difference result, otherwise known as a null. If this, not that. Zero difference result, otherwise known as a null hypothesis. Only one can be true. Either A will cause B or A will not cause B. Now, when you vary and manipulate your suppositional causal influencer, you either cause the natural phenomena you're studying or you don't. If you don't, you validate the null. Tick. A didn't cause B. If you validate the cause, that's to say you validate the alternative hypothesis, tick. It is proven. A causes B. You then form theory. Now, this bullshitting shyster just suggests that these two wankers who haven't got a fucking clue, have evolved beyond us flat earthers. I can summarise the scientific method. You decided to tell an audience of 1.5 million that it's maths. It's an outrage.
Just
also
it's very hard.
The math.
Yeah, John.
The maths that he's appealing to is to take differential vectors within length, width, and height, and those three dimensions, right? Just three, and assert that each new vector is a dimension. It is literally stupidity at its zenith.
To use our limited ape descendants of cognition to intuit.
So did he just give a percentage to his cognition? I'm not going to rewind. 74.3% of all statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves.
What that reality really is like.
This is why analogies are so important.
You're not talking about reality. You appreciate that the geometry you're discussing, gentlemen, is pseudo-geometry? Now, your counterpart here on screen, he didn't mention the pseudo aspect of it. Yeah? But it's a geometry. Abstract in nature, by definition, it's maths. Meanwhile, it's fundamentally labelled as pseudo by Einstein himself. It's pseudo-Riemannian. Was that just Riemannian? No, he's a bullshitter, he's a liar, he's a charlatan, recontextualising maths into physics.
Yeah, I mean, the round Earth is not intuitive because we're stuck on it.
No, we're not stuck on anything. You're stuck in it if you're going to reify it from the flat Earth measurements that created it.
But you
No, I don't know, you stuttering, yammering idiot.
But round objects in general, we have pretty...
Sorry, because we've got a round Earth in general?
Good intuition, a little bit. And we've been introduced about light works and so forth. And it's actually a good exercise to actually work out how eclipses and phases of the sun and the moon and so forth can be really easily explained by round Earth and round moon.
Jesus H. Christ, can you spit out a full sentence much? No, you cannot explain it with stuttery sentence fragments. No, you can't, because the derivation of your heliocentric Copernican motion comes from within a spherical system that's derived from flat Earth angle measurements to all the lights in the sky. So you're going to need a flat Earth to describe this heliocentric reification. Now, this is me, a flat earther, who apparently, you and your 8% of your brain have evolved beyond? Describing with the measurements of Earth how heliocentric Copernican motion gets reified into existence by this stuttery sentence fragment using charlatan.
And models, and you can...
We don't live on a model. That's a reification fallacy. Look it up.
Just take, a basketball and a golf ball and a light source and actually...
Now, you won't be able to compare this to heliocentrism. Heliocentrism is described by the Copernican motion within the ball. So this stupid nonsense of reification and then comparing a, fourth dimensional system with a golf ball? Where's the fourth dimensional time in Einstein's geometry that you're discussing when you hold up your frigging golf ball? Oh, it doesn't exist within the pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time geometry that you're reifying and then describing with a golf ball. All right. That's kind of weak, gentlemen. Meanwhile, your golf ball description mathematically takes place in the golf ball, not on the golf ball. Why is it I'm having to correct these two wankers? I'm a flat earther who's just been demeaned as having been evolved beyond by these two tosspots. Yet I'm having to break down their own heliocentric reification into the flat plane. That's the equatorial plane. Look it up, gentlemen, you're a pair of spastics. How dare you demean me as being something you've evolved beyond when you don't even understand the plane of reference inside your frigging golf ball full comparison. What a pair of dicks! Was this the general reaction you were hoping for? I'm asking this.
A little bit more anger and disdain.
A bit more. You want me to ham it up a bit more?
I'll throw some more gasoline on the fire if you want. If you want to get a little bit more angry. In a way, they're acknowledging that they have to know it's flat to assert their nonsense.
No, they're not. I disagree. If he says on the golf ball, he is not acknowledging the asymptotically flat plane of the universe in the reference that Copernican motion in an orbit would utilize, aka the flat asymptotically plane that dissects or bifurcates the golf ball in his example. That's the plane of reference that he's not acknowledging, and you're saying, well, he must acknowledge it. That's not going to make me more angry. It's going to make me correct you, because he's not. He said on the golf ball, didn't he?
No. He said we've evolved from these flat earthers, right? So that's your plane of reference.
Oh.
Now you're going.
He didn't say revolved. He said evolved, not revolved. Unless I'm
evolved. That's what I said.
Evolved. Yeah. We'll discuss this later.
So the intuition is there, but yeah, you have to transfer it.
That is a big leap intellectually for us to go from flat to round Earth, because our life is mostly lived in flatland.
Yeah.
To load that information, and we're all take it for granted. We take so many things for granted because science has established a lot of evidence for this kind of thing. But we're in a.
Does this guy just sound retarded to me? Like slow? Does he just sound like a retard? Is it just me? Does he have learning difficulties? Does he just sound slow to me? I don't want to tar him with too harsh of a brush. To me, this man sounds like a retard. A slow-talking dumbass who doesn't know what the hell he's babbling about, constantly covering his lying mouth as he babbles about something he hasn't got a clue about.
Did he just say we experienced the Earth flat all our lives, but science has reestablished it? What did he say?
Like he said, we live in clown world, actually. Got a flat fan. Go on.
Can you give it a J, Nathan?
Oh, bloody hell.
Transfer it.
That is a big leap intellectually for us to go from flat to round Earth, because our life is mostly lived in flatland.
Yeah.
To load that information.
No, you're absolutely right. I thought you said Clownland. It's because I've got a fan running.
And we're all like take it for granted. We take so many things for granted because science has established a lot of evidence for this kind of thing. But
no, science doesn't deal with shapes. Retard. Yeah? Science deals with cause and effect, phenomena established through observation in the physical and natural world. So, no, it doesn't offer any of this evidence for shapes.
You know, we're on a round rock flying through space.
Yeah.
It's a baseless assertion fallacy. Go ahead.
To clarify, though, what he's effectively saying there is, yeah, we experience the world as flat, and intellectually it's a big leap to go to heliocentrism, but it's okay because we have the science behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah, I got that.
It's a big leap, and you have to take a chain of those leaps the more and more we progress.
Right.
No, we don't. We just point out that Earth gets measured flat. No leaps required. Your space religion is a leap of faith from you and everyone else in the heliocentric spinning ball space monkey religion.
Yeah, so modern science is maybe, again, a victim of its own success.
Well, that's what he's describing.
Yeah,
he's admitting that.
More accurate, it has to move further and further away from your initial intuition. And so for someone who hasn't gone through the whole process of science education, it looks more and more suspicious because of that. So, you know, we need more grounding. I mean, I think, there are
more grounding, like ground positioning. Yeah, we do. We measure the ground for surface level when we navigate. We measure the ground for surface level when we build. We measure the ground for its surface level when we charted the surface level. We measure the ground and its surface level for the elevations above the surface level, for the heights of the mountains and the depths of the valleys. Everything that we do in terms of how we actually process the ground for grounding is flat.
There are scientists who do excellent outreach.
This is not a scientific endeavour. Science deals with phenomena. Something's got to be happening to say, why did that happen? For you to establish the cause of the effect. An effect is something occurring. A shape isn't something occurring. Now, your ideas of an aspect we measure of the ground, that's its flatness. Earth is flat. We measure it flat. That's how it's dealt with. In every regard, always, without exception. Now, your asymptotically flat plane of motion that's utilised in orbits to describe heliocentric balls to be in, mathematically, and then reified after the fact as being on, like in your golf ball and shadow example, is merely the extrapolation of flat Earth measurements. I hope we're all clear.
But there's lots of science things that you can do at home.
So yes, there's lots of cause and effect relationships that you can establish by observing natural phenomena and then assuming you know the cause, varying said cause, and establishing if it does indeed cause the effect you observed first in nature. Being at home is irrelevant. Establishing the cause of a natural phenomena is what science is. The location of its process is irrelevant. Now, I would expect a bullshitter to suggest that you can do science at home. It matters not where I do it. I could do it on a boat. I could do it whilst on an aeroplane. It doesn't matter where I do it so long as I vary and manipulate that which I assume causes a natural phenomena. And after variation of presumed cause, the phenomena occurs. I've done science. Now, equally, if I vary said presumed cause and it doesn't cause the phenomena I first observed in nature, I've still done science. I affirm my null, also known as a zero difference result. I went through it earlier after you suggested that you'd evolved beyond flat earthers. By the way, I had to explain it because you two bullshitting charlatans suggested that maths was science when talking about theory incorrectly. Just so we're clear why I had to go through what science actually is. After being demeaned by you two wankers.
There's lots of YouTube videos. I did a YouTube video recently of Grant Sanderson. We talked about this earlier. That how the ancient Greeks were able to measure things like the distance to the moon, distance to the Earth, and using techniques that you could also replicate yourself. It doesn't all have to be like fancy space telescopes and really intimidating mathematics.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry, was that like a baseless assertion fallacy? Because we seem to be going back to the host asking you a new question because you said that this was easy and it doesn't involve telescopes. Yeah, telling me what it doesn't involve doesn't tell me what it does involve. I mean, we could talk about thousands of years ago measuring sticks and shadows. That would be elevation angle measurements to the sun off a flat Earth. that are suggested to prove we're on a ball, but you didn't actually give us anything beyond your baseless assertion and what it wouldn't involve. So it doesn't involve space telescopes from home. Okay, that's nice. What does it involve? Will it be flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the sun? Will it be sticks and shadows and the angles off a flat plane? I'm pretty sure that's what we've got to date.
I highly recommend that. I believe you give a lecture and you...
I recommend that. I believe that. That's a sentence fragment. Give him 1.5 million views.
Also did an incredible video with Grant. It's a beautiful experience to try to put yourself in the mind of a person from that time, shrouded in mystery.
Right.
You know, you're like on this planet, you don't know.
So it's a wonderful thing to put yourself, that's called empathy, right? To picture what you would be feeling if you were them. So it's a beautiful thing, empathy. Right, okay, let's just break down this sentence stuttery fragment of nonsense. To go to their position where they don't know, cut to a picture of someone drawing a circle on a blackboard. This is nonsense. Let's just be clear. This is garbage, and that's why it has 1.5 million views, subscribers. Because people like nonsense. Yeah, this stuttery idiot talking crap, people think that they're smarter than him. That must be the only reason why he's got 1.5 million views, because he makes people feel better about themselves.
Oh, the shape of it, the size of it. You see some stars, you see some things, and you try to like look.
You see some stars, you see some things. 1.5 million subscribers. Me, I've got to have a second job. Me, I can accurately describe what this guy's waffling on about when he gives you a vague idea of a notion or a concept, same with his guest.
Localize yourself in this world.
Yeah.
And try to make...
Sorry, I'm going to localize myself. And I can only be where I am, you stupid retard. Localize myself? How the hell am I going to do that? Did I delocalize myself when my spirit left my frigging body? No, that didn't happen. I don't need to localize myself, you stupid nonsense waffling retard.
Make some kind of general statements about distance to places.
Change your perspective.
Really? Distance? What, linear in nature? Flat Earth proving? Distance will always prove a flat Earth, sir. Isn't this nonsense cockwaffle about fourth dimension and pseudo-Riemannian space-time bending? That's where you started out in this edited video.
Perspective is really important. You say travel broadens the mind. This is intellectual travel. You know, put yourself...
Sorry, intellectual travel? Sounds like the nonsense waffle of a bullshitter to me. Intellectual travel, is it different to getting in a car? Like, do I have to project astrally? Notice how I sarcastically use my spirit leaving my body. Now this guy's actually saying that. Yeah, when I say it, it's absurd. When he says it, it's, oh, yeah, that's not the long, yeah. Intellectual travel that we're taking. Yeah. Right?
It's Imagineering. He's an Imagineer.
Do we jump on the Imagination Land Fun bus for this travel? Yeah, we're going to get on the Imagination Land Fun bus for this imaginary intellectual travel that we'll be taking.
in the mind of the ancient Greeks or some other...
Oh, sorry, the ancient Greeks, they measured Earth flat with elevation angles to the sun. We mentioned them earlier.
Person some other time period. Make hypotheses, spherical cow.
No, they weren't making a hypothesis. A hypothesis is the establishment of a suppositional causal influencer based on the observation of a natural phenomena you want to know the cause of. It's an if and then statement. If A, that's your suppositional causal influencer, then B, your naturally occurring phenomena that you want to know the cause of. That's a hypothesis. I can summarise it quite consistently, with good consistency, on a live stream. These two tossers will just lie to you about what maths isn't when they use these words incorrectly, like hypothesis.
House, whatever, speculate.
So I thought we were formulating a hypothesis, and now it's been stuttered into a speculation by this bullshitting charlatan for 1.5 million subs to soak up. No, there's no speculation beyond the suppositional causal influence that I just so accurately detailed when formulating actual hypotheses.
And this is what mathematicians do. And
oh, really? When we're dealing with the physical and natural world, it's what mathematicians do. No, they deal in only the abstract concept of mathematics. Physicists deal with the physical and natural world when formulating a hypothesis.
Some sort of artists do, actually.
It's just incredible that given the extreme constraints, you can still say very powerful things.
So what constraints were they, specifically? And given that you've said that it's constraints, not a constraint, I'd like to know that more than one of them. What two at least, constraints are they, and how powerful are these constraints? You're just making shit up, mate. You're just talking crap so you seem like you're involved in the conversation. Isn't he? Is it obvious now I'm breaking it down for my audience what this bullshitting charlatan is actually doing to make himself seem like he has some place in this discussion? Is it obvious now I'm breaking it down? Or maybe you disagree. Maybe you think, no. When he describes the ethereal constraints, plural, 2 of them at least, and how powerful they are, he does actually mean something with that cock-waffling garbage that doesn't mean anything. He does actually mean something. He's going to now go on to tell us what those constraints are. Let's see if I'm right. And he's just cock-waffling with his nonsense garbage to make himself seem like he knows what he's talking about and therefore has a place in this conversation, or if actually he will actually, and I'm wrong, detail the constraints and how powerful they are. Let's see if I'm right.
That's why it's inspiring.
And he
looking
was
back in history.
stereotyping mathematicians. Carol Vorderman wasn't involved in any of this stuff.
I won't have you say a bad word against Carol Vorderman.
How much can be figured out when you don't have much to figure out stuff
if
with.
you propose axiom,
How much to figure out how stuff works? That doesn't sound like what he just said. Is it just me? Or is he being given a bit of leverage in the closed captions? Let me just see if I'm right.
Very powerful things.
Very powerful things. Okay, so we're right on the closed captions.
That's why it's inspiring. Looking
That's why it's inspiring.
back in history, how much can be figured out when you don't have much to figure out stuff
if you
with.
propose
When you don't have... It's because the 2 of them are talking at the same time. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
axioms, then the mathematics lets you, follow those axioms.
If you propose axioms... I've got some suggested axioms for you, John. How do you feel about that?
They better hold true always.
I mean, they're just proposals. I mean, I'm just going to propose them.
Well, then they're not axiomatic. They're a proposal.
To their conclusions, and sometimes you can get.
So you propose an axiom and that leads you to follow to conclusions. Now, if you're describing something that's an axiom, it's just an axiom. I mean, what is this cock waffle? Oh my God, this is what bullshitters do.
Quite a long way from, initial hypotheses.
What hypotheses? You didn't give us one. There wasn't any. My God, it really does irritate me, especially when they try and condemn us as being stupid and raise themselves up in stature as intellectual superiors. No, you're a pair of bullshitters. And the reality is they friggin' know it. Both of them know that they're bullshitters as they stutter and stammer their way through that interview. They know they haven't got a bleeding clue what they're talking about, and that's why they're covering up their mouths and faces. It's an outrage, really. Let them know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Shout out to Pablo. This guy pretended to be a big shot during research for MIT. Doing research. Okay, fair enough. I mean, just the accreditation for being part of MIT. No, that doesn't get you anything.
Yeah,
it doesn't get you
They threw a load of words together, and it wasn't very coherent. It was like they're playing Scrabble, but we can't see the board.
Yeah. But they were incorrect in their summaries and descriptions of mathematics being theory-based or scientific-based, because they're talking about the nature of the world that we're on in a very vague and generalised way, and then talking about the genius that is the pseudo-Riemannian, although he didn't use the word pseudo, mathematics invented by Einstein. I think I said 105 years. It's 110 years ago. And then inserted these science words like hypothesis and theory and didn't detail any. Then told us how we couldn't do them. Or what we wouldn't need. We wouldn't need space telescopes. Oh, how useful of you, you pair of wankers. Right, so should we round out? With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to today's G+ and Discord panels, and I will see you all in the next video.